so that group, what they say holds weight because it's been the consensus of all your friends and teachers and everybody else.
Right, but you mentioned the AMA. What does the AMA have to do with my education?
I think there's the American Society of Pediatrics, the American Society of AMA might be a Jewish thing actually. AM, I forget the name of the association.
Yeah. Okay. So.
AMD.
No. Oh my God! Just Jesus Christ. Okay. So.
What is your board? What is your governing body?
Well, I'm triple boarded, so I have multiple boards. But what? Okay. So again, your brain is like this hodgepodge of confused thoughts, and I'm trying to detangle them. So you believe that all physicians are all believing the same thing, and we might have good hearts, we might not, but we're all believing the same thing because our organization tells us to believe something. And you believe that that's what our medical education is, that we are just like, we sit around and we get didactics and then we take notes and we memorize them and then that's it. That's like your understanding of medical education.
No. In fact, medical, specifically physical medical education, and not kind of their sciences, but you take lungs out of different people, right? It's a very well debated. There's not much room for fluff. Same thing with genetics. There's not much room for fluff in what you guys do specifically.
No, sorry.
But you're talking about other things like public health.
You need to focus. You need to focus on what my actual question is rather than going off on and answering things I'm not asking you. Is it your belief?
All right, say it again.
Is it your belief in general that medical education is people telling us what to believe and then we believe it because we want to believe it? Those were your words. That it is normal and natural for us to want to believe the things that we are told. So so based on that statement that you made, I'm asking you, do you believe that that is how medical education works? That we are told a series of things, and then we take notes and we learn it and we memorize it, and then our organizations keep reiterating these same concepts, and that is why we believe what we believe. Is that your understanding of medical training?
I'm sorry, it's more complex than just yes or no. When it comes to doing transplants and doing genetics, there's a lively debate going on all the time between those people. But when I say that, hold on, let me just say this because I'm probably going to lose my service. When you talk about things that have a consensus have been formed, like with COVID, let's use as an example.
He does look feminine.
Apparently Diddy has connections to him. Let's see.
Oh. How's your day been?
Whip it out.
I just like teasing him. Who's Jason? I feel like Jason is Soren.
It's his alter ego. Is Soren Jason?
Like Soren left and then Jason arrived.
Does happen actually.
You really don't know who Jason is?
One of the wizards had like this funny little like diatribe about how there seems to be this whole scene of research happening right now that's just like, I can do it, even though it is completely like illogical and too expensive for anyone to ever use it. Like they think that it somehow proves that like, additional things need to change in Bitcoin because they've now proven it's theoretically possible, but like, it's going to take a whole fucking block in order to do it, or it's going to take, whatever, multiple blocks of secure swap. Like I forget what that one thing. I forget what someone proved recently, but anyway,
the fucking haters, they're shitting on my boy Andrew Bolstra and the Mossad for collider scripts.
Exactly, yeah, that was what it was.
I know exactly what they were thinking.
And yeah, anyway, like I kind of feel the same way. It's just like, I don't know, like it does seem like a little bit of a waste of
And
time.
you're a
Like,
hater,
okay.
bro. You don't like people agreement. You don't think that they could get all the compute equal to the proof of work for the network for a whole day. It's just a hate.
Hate us because they ain't us.
And it's lit all day, right? It doesn't mean it's like that full time. Now, I'm not trying to say that knowledge accepts this. I guess
The stroking, all of that. Just look after them, because it's a tough time. Because obviously we don't understand dogs, we don't know what they're going through. And make sure they're eating properly as well. You just get the cleanest stuff that you can get until tomorrow, and get birds.
Suddenly it was, I listen to other experts that aren't you. So yeah, it's, I've said this before, but there's a test that we do in critical care where if we have an arterial blood gas, we're worried that it's not internally consistent. The values themselves don't make sense. I wish there was a test for that for anti-vaxxers, because their arguments are never internally consistent, ever.
That is true. I agree. We have some new speakers to the stage. What's going on, Euro? I guess that's nothing further. Anywho, well, today seemed like a pretty good day. We get to shit on the flat earthers for realizing the earth is flat. Shit on the anti-vaxxers. They like to realize that they don't understand biology. And I think I call that a pretty complete day right there. But I'm not gonna hold this room up. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this puppy down. I don't know where the hell Cope and Rohan went. So thank everybody for coming up, bring back. We'll be back some other time to shit on more anti-vaxxers and flat earthers. Peace.
Cycle. It's the
What
color.
does it mean?
Like that. Hi.
Hello. He did say he was tired.
Right, who fell asleep?
Oh, sorry.
Jeff?
Jeff's sounding a little intoxicated. Like he's
up.
having a good time.
He's out of mind.
He has so much cortisol from fighting with Soren before, he's gonna be up for hours.
Oh, I saw Soren in that room, Jeff, with you. I said, I'm not going in there.
I got triggered by his voice and left. Can't stand it.
Well, I wouldn't even go in.
He came back
Yeah.
again?
Oh my god.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, did you try the rum? Is that what's happening?
I did not have the rum you recommended.
Not yet.
He had a different.
I looked for it earlier.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'll have to see if I can find it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Now everybody got quiet. What's everybody doing?
I'm surprised that Jeff isn't all wrapped up with all that masochism he got to let off.
Well, you're surprised at what?
You're not more wrapped up with all that masochism he got to let off in the sword.
No, fuck it. It's all good.
You know who cracks? The more I spend time with him, Euro down there. Euro, you crack me up. I just had to tell you. I'm trying to bring you up.
Uh-oh. You saw my muscle photos?
I did.
Yeah, I would do it.
Euro's funny.
Euro, I have this impression, or this image that you bench press like 450 pounds.
460, but
Yeah. There we go. Sorry, I left you off by 10.
Yeah, get it right, Yakov.
I know.
Fucking man. I bought too smart of a lock, and it just
Tell Mama about it, Rafi.
It doesn't speak any English. That's a problem.
What the hell?
What language does it speak?
I guess Chinese. I need to find like a Chinese friend to play the lock.
Is it an Austin lock? Those smart locks are like really amazing.
It comes with like fingerprint, keypad, and it has like those like little keys, like that you go to the gym with.
Right. So someone who wants to get in your house is going to chop off your finger and bring it to your door.
Basically, yeah.
I've seen that plot in a movie.
Rafi, just Google how to crack the name of the lock, because there's a guy who does. He opens all kinds of safes, all kinds of locks.
I've seen his YouTube channel. He literally will take this amazing lock that's in the package that says pick proof, and he picks in less than 4 seconds.
Yeah,
that guy.
Those guys are good.
That's tricky. The problem is, I have no problem accessing it with. So, there's 4 ways to get it. I told you: key, an actual physical key, fingerprint, either a code password, or the little cards. So I have
one other way.
What's it?
Physics.
Yeah, there's a lot of smart locks out there where like you can just use your Apple Watch.
Yes, but for me, so this is the one too. But the problem is to go into settings to connect them together or to pair them. You have to set up the lock into pairing mode, and when the lock speaks to you back in Chinese, it's kind of hard to understand what it's saying.
Tell you the answers on Google.
Chinese answers, they all sound the same.
Are you getting paid by Google to say that once a day?
Oh, actually, that is a great idea. Isn't there apps if somebody speaks, it can translate?
Yes. You just let GPT do it. You don't even have to bother with translation.
Wow, that works? That's going to be insane. It's going to be the slowest setup ever, but that should be fun.
Alright, if you're looking to be intellectual, I'm not going to stay on this stage much longer.
Point. Is this point counterpoint?
There's no intellectual discussion. There's no need for me to be here.
You don't have to worry about the half-life of intellectualism in this room.
Yeah.
There's 0. Like.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in a smart lock, there's some really good ones in English, like Austin and some others.
No, I don't need a smart lock. I'm smart enough.
Yeah, but are you locked up enough?
Remember when you turned 18? Was it 18 or was it 17? Right? I'm not sure which it was. There's some guy who posted that. They'd be like, "Oh, he's adult now. He's fair game."
Yeah.
What a pathetic fucking human being you have to post something like that. You annoying little shit. Fuck you.
I think he's slightly older than Ida.
Yeah, I think she's like what, 17 or 16? Can we search that?
I think I remember during the speech she was giving, she was like 17.
Yeah, it's,
So
she's
she's
17 currently. Yeah, she is 17.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good to know. Fuck man, we're old.
Yes.
If I look at the ages of other people, I'm like, god damn, dog. You really know you're old when you're like in your 20s and you look at someone in their teens, you're like, damn, that's a fucking kid.
Oh, by the way, Molson, did you hear that apparently TikTok Shop did like $50 billion this year?
Yeah, that's kind of made up numbers. Before we got on the TikTok Shop, I was really skeptical about the units sold that they published on the app, but then after we got on there, it's believable. But the caveat is they did that through a lot of customer subsidies. So an item would be on sale for $20 and like TikTok would pay like $5 to $10 of it. But TikTok is like truly a legitimate sales platform.
Yeah. I saw a lot of people generating like millions of dollars just off of TikTok Shop.
It's real. It's real.
Brainwashing works so hard, man. It's great.
I don't want to talk about China again. I feel like all I do is talk about China. But Chinese e-commerce is like way ahead of the United States, and like TikTok Shop is like trailing like where Chinese e-commerce is.
Believe it or not, Molson, I actually agree with you on this case.
My propaganda has gotten into your head.
No, like I've agreed with this since before I even met you.
Molson, you can pull the snap my fingers and you're never gay thing on them and just tell them yes if you say so.
Oh my god. If I snap my fingers, you'll forget you were ever gay.
But I'm not gay.
There you go.
I've never seen a meme with two black guys in this particular show.
Not making it better, huh?
Yeah. You can't just snap your fingers and
There's nothing gay about being in the shower talking to a bunch of guys late at night, okay?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
you're anonymous in the shower too. Yeah.
Oh, dude, 100%. I think it's he's the only one in the shower who's having a shower while being on a call with a bunch of dudes who just happen to be somewhat his own age.
Apparently Douyin did like $200 billion in China, so like TikTok's like gotten like $250 billion.
It's crazy.
And ByteDance just off of like shopping volume. Amazon's like 700 something billion. So ByteDance alone is like doing a third of the numbers of Amazon.
Yeah, but there are other video platforms in China where you can do that stuff. So that's not the whole unlike in the United States, I think there's really only one. Maybe Whatnot too. There's really only one. So
yeah. The TikTok one and the Douyin one is actually very impressive because if you show a product, you can actually click on it in the video, and it actually takes you to that product.
Yeah, I think X is going to, I don't know what the proper way to say it is, but take their ads to the next level and allow purchases to happen in X and take a little cut of that. I think that would really, Facebook has it seems like they failed to roll that out and copy that from TikTok, and it seems like an opportunity for X, because X is iterating and releasing new features a lot faster than the other apps.
Supreme Court agrees to hear challenge TikTok ban.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is good. thing.
I'm like a really big fan of TikTok for e-commerce sellers because it provides us with an additional sales channel. So like instead of just being stuck with a very large Amazon and a bunch of other big players, even Walmart and Target, like you have alternative options. So not a huge fan of Chinese competition, but I like the channel.
I mean, kind of brainwashing kids to do that, but yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not saying anything against you selling your products, right? I mean, if you make a good product, it's a good sell. It's not a problem against that. It's just that, like, from an execution perspective, I think the majority of people should not use that fucking platform at all. Like, for nothing.
Well, you know how it's used in China, right? Like famously, like lots of different types of content and on Chinese TikTok.
Oh yeah.
You're like
Chinese version,
like their hours and all that shit, and so they handle it better. So yeah.
But
I mean, like
on TikTok, there is like a specific stem count that you can add.
Yes.
Like you can manually like turn on, and you get those types of videos going for on TikTok, not Douyin.
However, that will be used by the minority, 100%.
I know, but here's my problem, right? With like people that are like always like super against TikTok. TikTok's algorithm by far is the best algorithm I have ever seen for like anything. And like it's not just short content anymore. A lot of people are like short format videos. There's like videos on there that are like several like 10 minutes, 20 minutes long. And like the discoverability, the fact that you can learn about like interesting topics that you don't find on YouTube, you don't find on X, you don't find anywhere, like a significant amount of the things that you can learn about, I learned from like TikTok, and a lot of knowledge that I've gained from TikTok that I actually look up and I'm like, oh wow, that's true. And then like 6 weeks later, someone like literally just takes the fucking TikTok video and turns it into like a long ass thread on X. They're effectively weeks behind TikTok. So if you optimize your algorithm, if you optimize your algorithm on TikTok, you get the absolute best social media site on earth. Right? The problem is most people don't do that. And whenever someone just makes like someone like argues that we should ban TikTok or whatever, I'm saying like you're getting literally rid of the like best possible fucking social media platform, right? Just because the majority are too retarded to use it correctly.
Dude, people who want to ban TikTok just strike me as the most butthurt people on the planet. Just leave. I mean, I agree with that. I think there's a distinction to be made about being against the platform and saying that it should be banned. Alright? Because if you ban, it's just like with AI, it's the same shit. You have AI that can be used for a lot of good things, and then it's used for some really stupid fucking shit. Where you have some fucking idiot that decides, hey, you know what I'm gonna do to push my retarded ass worldviews to the public? I'm gonna start a mass shooting. That's fucking stupid, right? Does that mean that guns are bad? No. Does it mean that fucking AI is bad for generating some shit just because someone doesn't have the self-control to like not generate this bullshit? Does it mean that the AI is bad? No. That's not what I'm saying. Same thing also for TikTok. I'm just saying there should be some awareness around it, and that your fucking parents should probably not give this dopamine farming machine that then has these weird ass fucking slide garbage videos to your child.
You could say that about every single fucking social media site.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm just saying, be more awareness on that. I mean, YouTube Kids is a fucking cesspool. That shit should get deleted from the face of the planet. There's no such thing as fucking kids content. It does not exist. It's bullshit. It's a psyop. It's absolute straight fucking garbage. I never, in a single day in my life, have I ever watched this weird babified children's slop that they say is educational content. Straight fucking garbage. Like straight to the fucking ground. Take YouTube Kids, this weird fucking edition of YouTube, and just delete it. Get rid of it. I want to fucking something garbage.
Something interesting.
Fuck Cocomelon, this fucking disgusting ass dog shit. That should be erased from time.
Something interesting about Cocomelon is they literally sit down like a baby, and they literally sit down babies and they make them watch like a generic show, and then like Cocomelon, and every single time the baby looks away from Coco Melon, they take notes.
Basically,
taking
the MK Ultra approach to studying what exactly is the most addictive thing that we can we can expose a children's mind to on a general basis. That's what they do. Yet engineering their fucked up ass content is basically the perfect version of digital crack specifically tailored to kids. Isn't that disgusting? That's what
Yeah.
This
you
is
guys-
literally what capitalism always does in every instance that it can, though. It will find the lowest common denominator, and it will appeal to that as much as it can for as long as it can. It's always the fucking kids, man. I should leave the fucking kids alone. Fuck that. And really, there's nothing useful that comes out of it. The OG version of this was whatever this fucking brain rot called Teletubbies was. Like, what the fuck is this?
Oh my god.
I hate that shit. Some weird ass
I
rest
actually used
suit
to
motherfuckers like walking around there. Shit's annoying.
I actually used to like Teletubbies. I watched like every episode.
Well, I guess we grew up a little different. Made by people who had actual passion, like a creative design for it. I don't get the same impression with like these weird. I don't know. Do you see like the what are they even called? They're like inspired by like Five Nights at Freddy's, but the I'm so out of touch. I'm sorry.
The fucking Five Nights at Freddy's shit is weird as fuck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what's that?
I'm not even trying to be critical of that. Just some of the things just seem like this weird shock content, and I'm kind of reserving my judgment just because it's such an unusual thing that I feel like maybe I'm jumping to too many conclusions because it's profoundly weird, and maybe I'm biased or whatever. But I don't know. I see some of the stuff. I'm like, what is even going on? What's happening?
Do you know My Little Pony?
Oh my god. Yeah. What about
There's this series called like My Little Pony.mov, MOV, on YouTube, by like this animator, and if you go on it and you look at the comments, it's like, YouTube, this is an animation, so this would totally be great to show the kids. And I'm saying this because if you were on YouTube, like at any point in like the early days, you would have 100% seen the My Little Pony.mov videos, and it was like it like had like rape and murder and drugs and like all this fucking shit in it.
Oh, so it's like some like almost Adult Swim like parody of My Little Pony.
Yes. And I hadn't even watched it, but it came on my timeline, and I'm like, "What's this?" So I watched it. Why is like a kid like being like? And if you go on YouTube and you look it up, like the top comments are always like, why did YouTube recommend me this as a kid?
I mean, I don't know if people are forgetting this, but like kids, having been a kid, I know that they, and not as much myself, but I know at least my peers would be finding some, let's say not very well approved things on the internet that would be profoundly like almost just. Do you remember like Happy Tree Friends? Do you remember that? Like my friends would be watching that kind of thing. And I know of zero children's cartoons, except for like Tom and Jerry, but I should because it's not stupid children's
I watched
cartoons.
like Thomas the Tank Train or whatever.
I love Tom and Jerry. I will say though, it makes no sense. Tom and Jerry doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but that's fine. If you want to see a fucking cat try to kill a mouse, and the mouse somehow is able to flatten the cat into like a bunch of stairs, and then the fucking cat does the same shit somehow, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, so
my general point though is just that you can't, like, as much as we want to have control over like what kids watch. Inevitably, it's just the natural like most, at least preteen to teenage kids are gonna be finding things on the internet that are gonna be very very out there, just not as kosher as their parents may not like. And that's just what happened,
Yeah, but that is largely dependent on the type of environment they were brought up in, right? So if you have some retarded shit going on in your household, you're gonna watch retarded shit most likely, right? Or if you're a super curious individual, you're gonna be, I don't know, when's the first time you were when is the first time you were exposed to UFO slaw? Like that, all that kind of stuff. It just happens.
Like I remember
the majority of internet content that is really terrible is engineered to be addictive. That's a problem. And so that's why you're always going to be led down this bad path, and because they never seek anything else, the algorithm is going to assume, yes, this kid likes this stuff, and we'll see more and more and more of that stuff.
I think kind of fucked up my first kid because I didn't know any better, and I wanted him to be on my lap so I could bond with him while I was working, but he didn't like that, so I would play that. Have you guys ever seen the Dancing Fruit Hey Bear? So they're dancing fruit and they dance to music, and my kid would just watch that for 15 minutes at a time, but then he got super into TV, and you gotta be careful with that shit when y'all have kids. You really don't be tempted to put them in front of the TV so you can have a quiet moment. They're much better behaved, and they seem to develop better cognitively if you do not show them TV.
Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, do you remember what happens to the type of boomer that keeps leaving his TV on for 24/7? Do you think that's a person you want to have a conversation with? And if you do you think that's actually a good conversation, or does that just make you want to punch the wall? That's happening to your kid. You put it on front of the TV.
Yeah, my mom's a boomer, and she watches way too much traditional media and news, and it's rotted her brain.
And it depends on the type of mind and how accepting they are of something that's different, even though they still will reject it. It's an awful thing to have a conversation with. It's the resistance, the literal zero logic resistance. It fucks me up. I can't take it. It's terrible. It's stupid. If I'm resistant to something, I can rationalize it. I can tell you exactly why I dislike a thing, or I don't dislike a thing. You ask them, why do you dislike this thing? They got no answer because it's not their opinion. It's fucking programmed into them. Second-hand opinions are the fucking worst.
It seems like they can't get divorced from the idea that what they're seeing on TV is a lie, something 30 to 50% of the time. In a specific instance, you can be look, this is not true, and then you can bring them the evidence. But then they'll just go back to watching TV the next day, and they'll just assume that it's all true once again. It's really weird. I don't know how it works. You guys have brought it up a little bit before. I totally want to hear alternate Adrian's voice, but so now Israel is bombing Yemen, right? It's maybe to clear the Red Sea.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of the Houthis.
Super odd that we've waited this long. I mean, the Red Sea has been blocked for maybe a year now? Almost a year.
Wait, so are you telling me for an entire year ships have just been avoiding that area?
I think that's right.
I thought that was just with vessels that were marked for traveling to Israel.
No, it's vessels going to Europe. If you open up marinetraffic.com, you'll see that all the the major container ships going from China to Europe, to the Rotterdam port or maybe Hamburg port, they're all bypassing the Red Sea and going around the Horn of Africa.
You got idea.
Wow. For a year, and that's driven up the price of shipping globally for a year, quite a bit. What's odd is no one really talks about this or thinks about it at all. It's actually
actually like
Hold on,
one of the biggest stories.
I see cargo ships. I see cargo ships going in.
And then pay
Yeah, but like not many. And then and I think some of those ships are like, I don't know, maybe they're going to like the port of Jeddah or something like that, and they're not too big. And if you go down to like South Africa, go take a look at those ships.
Oh wow. Yeah. Wow.
And it's like wild, right? Because that drove up the cost of everything globally significantly. And like the United States had an operation in order to like clear that up. They like brought a aircraft carrier into the area, and then we like I don't know really what happened, but like ultimately the problem was never solved.
cars in the world.
Amazing.
We got our hands on over 2.
So it's like, to me, it's like kind of interesting, right? Because, so why did it drive up prices? It drove up prices for two reasons. So one, the amount of fuel needed to go from China to, let's say, Europe increased by like 20 or 30%. So maybe more than that, maybe like 40, 50%. Because you have to go all around Africa instead of like cutting kind of through the Middle East, going by Egypt and cutting through the Mediterranean. The second reason...
Also the staff. Yeah.
Staff as well. Definitely, you gotta pay them longer, whatever. But then, the other reason is it's like a strange artificial cut in supply, right? Because the demand for goods, notwithstanding the price increase, is constant, right? It doesn't matter that the Houthis are like using drones to blow up ships. But now there's just not as many ships in the water because to do the same transit from China to Europe and Europe back to China, it takes longer, and so there's just less supply of like effectively containers to go around, so just the pricing goes up on everything.
Yeah, because you need the massive ships, the massive container ships that can travel the super long distances, right?
That, and then also I think just by increasing the transit time, that's also a cut in supply.
Right.
It's like if something
also slower as well.
Yeah, it's slower as well, and so like everyone used to like carry more inventory, and this has been going on for a year, and it's like, and it's one of those like weird sea change moments where like cheap manufactured drones can like overpower. Maybe.
Yeah.
Style change something.
They seem to just be going after Iran's proxies, which is interesting to me.
Yeah. So the Ayatollah Khamenei, does he have monetization turned on? Because he's dropping some bangers.
I don't know, maybe like different governments around the world had like different like monetization practices, like corporations do, like almost like the more approval they got or something. Like imagine if there was like a sender or something, they're trying to get more clicks on their videos, get more monetization, and maybe like their salary was determined by that or something.
Yeah, it could be. I think that probably it's unlikely that he's got monetization turned on.
Every politician being like some simulacra of Mr. Beast or something.
Mr. Beast could someday be an Ayatollah, you never know. Sanctions. I don't think the sanctions would allow the Ayatollah to turn on monetization. Probably couldn't get Stripe to connect. Yeah. That laugh.
So at the beginning of this year, I made a bet with a guy saying that 2024 was going to be an epic volatile year, and like it was pretty volatile, but not as volatile as I was expecting. Some crazy shit happened though. It's hard to like remember all the events in the year.
The year's not over yet. You might be right.
Yeah, well, it's still like there was a decent amount of crazy stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna find out on December 31st that World War III has started.
Hey man, it's possible. It does kind of feel like there's an increasing amount of volatility, and volatility begets volatility. So anything can happen.
Just wondering when we're gonna get like some real life Black Mirror kind of stuff, really, more than like World War III or anything.
Black what?
Like Black Mirror, like technology horror, basically.
So, did you guys see that news that like Elon met Bezos? I had a thread nearly get to like a million, or maybe it hit 1 million impressions now. I muted it.
I didn't see it.
With Bezos, he didn't
Adrian,
reply
can
though.
you check your message? I'm gonna ask you something.
Okay.
Let me find it.
Oh, my Bezos thread? I can find that. Wait, did you say you were gonna send me a message?
No. I gotta ask Adrian something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It depends on how bad I feel today.
I would say I'm not sure I can make it on Friday either, so it might not be a good day.
Yeah, we'll probably have to do something like next year, then, so.
Yeah.
There's too much shit going on towards the end of the year. Anyways.
Yeah.
The economy goes through like a period of, oh, hey, by the way, for this period, 80% of all services are not going to exist. You know?
Yeah.
And support for those services not going to be there because they're mostly gone. And now it's going to work overtime because all the family's there. And if you don't attend the family thing, you're a piece of shit. And it's like, so.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I could do a Friday as well. Some things came up.
When does
I'll be busy on those 2 days.
When does the government run out of money?
Depends. Does the government print its own money? And
you know what I mean. When does the budgetary congressional authorization for spending end?
I don't think the concept of money even has the same kind of weight to the government in general that we may think it does.
Oh, it does. It 100% does. It's just that the U.S. is an exception.
Exception in that there's extraordinary demand for the money printed by the United States, but there's
exactly.
tons of other countries that are that have effectively the same system. Just
not really.
Well, no, I mean kind of right. Like just you like issue debt and then like your central bank buys it.
The debt issued by those countries is usually denominated in U.S. dollars. If the majority of it, it's not usually denominated in its own currency.
I don't know if that's true. I think that
it is true.
What about
if you look
Canada?
At most countries, Canada might be different. I'm talking about most countries on Earth.
Well, most countries they need to finance. Interesting. Yeah,
most countries on Earth need to borrow in U.S. dollars.
Right.
Which is the exact reason that Weimar Republic fell, by the way. The Germans, you know how Germans have hyperinflation. They needed to borrow in French currency and UK currency, and they needed to pay it back in French and UK currency.
Right.
And because of that, they had to no matter how much, how much they printed, they couldn't pay it back because the exchange value just went down and down and down.
The thing about
if you as a country can print money and you can pay it off in your own currency, and that is the ideal situation for that. You will pretty much never run out of money, although you will fuck over your citizens.
Yeah. In
Well,
theory,
yeah, like when we
it's great,
implemented
but in practice, it's not great.
When we implemented the Bretton Woods system, the U.S. basically took over the world economy.
Yeah.
What I really like about the history, or the most salient moment, if that's the right word, of Weimar hyperinflation is that early on in the hyperinflation, everyone or not everyone, but a lot of people in the Weimar Republic thought that they were getting rich because the stock market was mooning, and they didn't realize that was just indicative of future expectations of inflation. So everyone thought they were getting rich, but later when they were bringing a wheelbarrow of cash for a loaf of bread, that they realized that wasn't the case.
And the most obvious thing
although that won't happen. That won't happen with the U.S. dollar, at least for them.
Well, yes, because the U.S. dollar is backed by the U.S. military in a sense, right?
Doesn't matter. The U.S. military is backed by the U.S. dollar, and the U.S. dollar is backed by the U.S. military. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. Once one of those two breaks, the other one kind of also breaks.
So this is why the Houthis thing is such a big deal, right? Because that was one of the first times that the U.S. military faced the threat it was unable to neutralize. So I actually don't really believe that the dollar is backed by the military. People say that all the time, and yes, there are aspects to it when it comes to enforcement of contracts and maybe even loans from international organizations, but I think that's a more often cited reason than it is an actual reason for U.S. dollar supremacy.
I would say the military can be competent if they want, but it's not as competent as it could be just because of the fact that there's way too many people trying to get a profit out of it.
That may be so. I don't know a ton about it. I also think that we don't invest enough in education in our country, and then also there's
the U.S. spends more on education than any other country on earth.
Right, but it doesn't do so
how much
effectively.
money do we spend on defense? Can anyone get a percentage of how much our money gets spent on that? I think it's about 50% usually.
I don't know if it's that high, but it's quite low.
It's not 50%. It's not even close.
Yeah, it used to be.
It's never been 50%.
Yeah, it's been pretty close.
No, it hasn't. That's what those people do is they take a certain aspect of the tax spending, and they leave out Social Security and Medicare.
Yeah, those are the biggest expenditures.
How much money to Ukraine, dude? How often do we do that? We would just send them billions of dollars all the time.
That pales in comparison to how much they're spending on Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. The military budget doesn't even come close to those two.
Yeah, I think we sent $150 billion total to Ukraine, and there's 300 million people in the United States, so that's the equivalent of giving everyone $500. But if you think about how expensive Medicare, Social Security are, it's not that much money.
Yeah, so there's two types of tax spending. And whenever someone makes a point about how much of the U.S. spends its GDP or tax income on the military, they specifically leave out the one that inconveniently shows that literally over half of the income, that over half of the tax spending is just taken up by those two.
So it's like Social Security and Medicare. That's 1 and 2. Like Medicaid is like pretty small, as I understand it. Am I right in thinking that?
I don't know, because they're usually grouped together. It says Medicare and Medicaid. So I don't know individually which one.
So ironically, right, by fixing people's health, you can improve one, right? You can reduce Medicare spending, I think, depending on how it's done. But then you kind of like harm the other, because then people will live longer and you have to pay Social Security for longer. Kind of seems like an untenable situation without an extension of retirement age or some sort of
right.
cut.
So basically, there's two types of spending: discretionary and mandatory. So the military, and so 73% of the budget is mandatory spending. Only 22.8% of the budget is discretionary, and 4.27% in 2021 was net interest. Of the discretionary, which is 22.8%, the military is almost half. But keep in mind that the discretionary is only 22.8% of the total tax revenue spent.
Okay, but you can at least admit that the U.S. spends exorbitantly more than other countries do on our military. It's like if you put a bar graph side by side, we are effectively the outlier there.
Sure, but firstly, what you need to realize is that the U.S. is effectively outsourcing the security of the Asian countries and also the European countries to themselves, and the European countries and kind of the Asian countries too have kind of taken this for granted. And you see all these fucking Europeans that's like, we have free healthcare, we was chatting fucking bullshit, right? Because they don't have to spend money on their own security. How many years have they failed to meet up their NATO budget? The U.S. is effectively running military for all of its allies, and it's holding up the entire world's supply chain.
That's not quite true.
Well,
it's about the supply chain.
At least it used to.
So
it doesn't as much anymore, but it used to. But the part about them basically running the entire military for all of its allies is 100% true.
Yeah, that's sort of true, but it's kind of like an open question as to like how Well, okay, that is true. The other reason why the United States spends so much is that everything costs more here. So like I think I remember looking at like a comparison of the cost of like equivalent stuff from Russia versus the United States. We just pay a lot more for it, and it's not just driven by increased labor costs. Our military is pretty inefficient.
Also consider the fact that a lot of other countries have a mandatory military service, whereas the U.S. decides to pick the best from the country and actually pay them a salary.
I don't know about the best, but we don't have military draft, mandatory military service at this time.
Yeah.
So I mean that's another reason actually for like possible incompetence in the military. You have like a brain drain towards more productive sectors, whether it's technology or finance, just places where you can earn more money than you can in the military.
You've also got the cost plus contracts kind of fucking over the military.
Yeah, like those like screws that end up costing like $500 each.
Yeah, which is why like a company like Anduril is actually important.
Well, and kind of SpaceX too, even though it's not military, it's a similar principle.
Yeah. But either way, if you look at the mandatory federal spending, 52.9% is Social Security, unemployment, and labor. $2.77 trillion.
what percentage of that like gets allocated to the states? I assume that the money that goes to the states, that's mandatory, or is it discretionary?
Okay, so the discretionary spending refers to the portion of the budget that is decided by Congress each year through the appropriations process.
Okay. By the way, I wouldn't look at 2021 for this. 2021 was an aberration in terms of year. You had I think the CARES Act was 2021. No, maybe that was 2020. CHIPS Act, and there was like some other like crazy COVID spending act in 2021. You gotta look at other years.
Either way, though, every single year the discretionary spending is way bigger.
Yeah, you're right. I agree.
And not the the mandatory.
Yeah, mandatory. The non-military stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think
the discretionary also involves education. So the second biggest one is education, actually, in the discretionary.
Education, how though? Like Department of Education, or
I would assume. Department of Education.
I heard that.
I have a hard time believing we really spend that much on education, just based on the fact that
the U.S. spends more on education per capita, not even like total amount. Per capita, the U.S. spends more on education than any other country on earth.
I don't know how that's possible.
I mean, you guys were
just
talking about it earlier, right?
Most schools in the U.S. is pretty
I don't know. Oh,
it's like a massive floating
in the mandatory. Oh, by the way, in also the mandatory federal spending, $281 billion. So you've got almost $400 billion dedicated to education a year.
And then that probably doesn't even count student loans, which are federally guaranteed, which is additional support for U.S. education.
We also have a terrible education system. Just overall, we consistently rank very, very low in national scores, standardized tests, all this.
Especially what the interesting thing is, the U.S. was number one in the world in education, and then the Department of Education was founded. And every year since then, the U.S. has dropped lower and lower.
I wouldn't be surprised if you looked at like some sort of like standard for education, and then you look at like 1971, and you'll see that there was like a lot of decline after that. You guys know about this, like, so 1971 is when we switched from gold-backed currency to a fiat one, and fucked up a lot of shit. It's not just a the Medicare and the Social Security benefits is disproportionately white, and the working population is a great deal less white, even if it's majority white. And so it's just like you get this really like weird situation where you have like a lot of like white people who are older receiving benefits that are being paid for by people who are not that race. It's just like it's kind of a recipe for chaos.
Let's not make it white. Let's also consider the fact that these people that are getting this much of the money from Social Security aren't even gonna pass shit down to their kids. They're gonna fucking sell their house, and they're gonna go into an old people's home, and the old people's home is gonna take all their money. Yeah,
that's possible.
Or they're gonna spend all of their money trying to stay longer for like stay alive for like one more month.
Yeah, it's nothing. The houses are liquid, so probably the real estate will get passed on.
You underestimate how expensive old people's homes are. Some of them are like over $100,000 a year. Right?
I don't know, bro. My parents and grandparents are alive, and like I have parents and one has passed away. I might know something that's.
Yeah, so there's actually a trend of like investment firms now buying like a lot of old people's homes. Because they're so fucking profitable now, because all the old people are fucking selling their houses to move into old people homes.
Yeah, I mean, but that could be said about every industry. There is not an industry that private equity is like buying up, trying to roll up, trying to make some money off of. But I mean, is that really true that these boomers will like get in the hospital and figure out a way to like spend $1 million to extend their life if they're on Medicare?
For the majority of them, yes. I think the
But
majority
if they're on Medicare, right? Like that doesn't really work.
I think the majority of these, Medicare is not going to cover like $100,000 worth of costs.
Yeah, is that how it would work? I mean, like it's just like when my father passed away, he had long-term care health insurance, but like, can a boomer elect to spend $1 million in excess of Medicare on their way out in the hospital? Is that like an actual possibility?
I don't know, but from what I can see, most boomers aren't going to pass anything down to their kids. And then you've got the super retards, which believe that they should donate it all to charity.
I like that. That's a good name for the super retard boomers.
You've got the super retard boomers. They're like, I'm not going to give my kids shit, so I'm going to give it to a charity organization, which is going to spend it all on fucking luxury hotels for some fucking executive. And 0.1% of the money of it might go to homeless people, if they feel generous enough.
Yeah,
After all the executives have had their like 5-star hotels and private jets and all the administrative costs have been paid, anything that's left over they might consider giving to people in need.
Yeah, it's a grift. Charity has this like amazing reputation in the United States. It's also like intertwined with the culture, but in general, the whole nonprofit charity thing is a big grift. It sucks.
I like Peter Thiel's explanation of this. He's like, he's basically saying people that give their money to charity, when they die, basically feel like this is because they have like some sort of guilt about like all the wrong things they've done in their life. It's not a nice act to do. It's actually a very selfish act.
I mean, it also says that you have more faith in an organization that you didn't create to use your money well than the children, which you did.
Yeah.
Which is odd. But
it's also I find the argument super weird as well when they're like it will spoil them. It's up to you to like make sure they don't fucking turn out like that. It's basically you're basically outsourcing the job of your parenting to the job market.
I mean, there definitely is some truth though to this idea that having your children know that they're receiving a large amount of money causes them to be fucked up mentally in some way. It's quite a challenge to raise kids if you have money in a way such that they'll be good, productive citizens. At least from what I've seen.
I think that's
make them work when they're young. Yeah, like make them work when they're young. Understand, like have them actually work for a salary first. Have them understand the shittiness of hierarchy, the mobbing within companies. Help them understand everything. Help them understand why the manager is a piece of dog shit. Help them understand why you should not become that piece of dog shit. All that kind of stuff. That's the lesson.
What parents do wrong is that they send their kids off to fucking school. And they don't teach them shit about the business. They don't make them work in it. Their job is practically to go to school. And they don't spend any time with their kids. Like, of course the kid's gonna fucking turn out spoiled. He's going to school like a bunch of other spoiled kids. And you're not teaching him about his job. You made his job going to fucking school with a bunch of other spoiled kids. Of course he's gonna turn out spoiled.
Mine went to a private school, like a pretty well-off town, and I don't know anyone who was raised with like significant amounts of money who's like a motivated, well-adjusted adult. It seems to have like fucked all their brains.
Yeah, like raising them with the understanding that you have limited resources is a problem.
I actually think that too. I went to private school as well. Most of the kids are fucking morons. But I think that's mostly a fault of the parents than it is too.
Yeah, it says easy, does hard. I mean, these people, some of them are like self-made rich people, so they're not poor. And I think like one of the best ways to solve the problem is to actually just hide money.
Nowhere in this fucking lease does it say that you're laying a fucking plane on it. Nowhere in this lease does it say that
True, but I think
it's successful business because then you'll treat your kids as if they were a business situation, like some sort of business investment rather. And let me tell you something, that shit hardly ever works out. It'll actually do the opposite. If successful, it will make the kid whom you subjected to this nonsense a ruthless motherfucker who will have it in the back of their own minds a goal to destroy you and take everything. They're gonna take over not by you giving them your stuff, but by having that guy take it from you. You raise it like that because that's the idea of raising someone with the mentality of doing business. That's the idea.
What do you mean? Like,
assimilate, conquer, and destroy.
This is why we don't want you here.
Well, I mean, like, what does it mean to raise a child? The intention of them, like, to raise them as an investment. Like, what's that look like? What's the kind of parenting does that look like?
Maybe some of them start blowing the fuck
You
up.
don't really give them much of any love, much of any attention. Their entire life's mission is supposed to be making money. They're not allowed to have any real fun, and if they do, it's outside of the parents' ability to regulate, and as such becomes a fucked up situation because then they will just engage with, like, imagine taking someone like a Seventh-day Adventist or someone who's super strange, like really, really strongly religious, and then they somehow have convinced themselves of the fact that God is not real, and then you put him in a fucking nightclub. Dude, that guy's gonna fuck it in ways that you can't even understand. He's gonna do all the drugs, he's gonna do all the fucked up shit, he's gonna fucking do his ass, he's gonna do everything on his first fucking day in the club. He doesn't care. Okay, that's the problem. That's also the problem with like ultimate freedom after you've like oppressed somebody. It's also like why people get conditioned. It's all the same issue, right? So that makes you on the first level, it makes you dysfunctional, socially dysfunctional, because you cannot hang with anyone. Because if you don't say, oh, hanging with this person is going to make me money, then you're not going to be able to hang with that person. Like the majority of people who try to maximize money making for absolutely every single thing cannot have fun at all. Not even a little bit. You can have fun, I suppose, whenever you have free time, and maybe you have like a ratio for this, but you can't be the I'm going to have to work 100% of the time type of person who doesn't have like the slightest inkling of fun at all. I will say as well.
I will say it as well. I think a lot of kids as well, seeing their fathers basically work themselves to death and sacrifice pretty much everything in their fucking life, automatically makes it to the like the point where you're kind of like, I don't want to live this life. Like this this sort of thing, like the money is not worth this much work.
Comic book people smart.
Yeah, when the father, like for example, has like a
if you like
terrible
it, you'll cover.
relationship with his entire family, has a terrible relationship with his wife, has a terrible relationship with his kids. He has diabetes. He's fucking sick all the time because all the time work.
Yeah. So my father effectively died within a year of retiring. So like, and he worked like really hard. It wasn't like a joyful work. And it just don't do that.
It depends. Yeah. Like it depends on what you're going for. But what he's like explaining here is like the type of person that says, we have to basically turn these people into the next conquest to an extent, but you're so fucking capital focused that you will turn your very own children into like a means by which you can attain more capital. You know what I mean? Like you kind of keep them subservient as much as possible. You'll even fuck up opportunities for them just because they're getting out of control. Yeah. And then maybe, and here, if you're like the only child, it's a suffering you bear, and that's a thing. But you will have an even worse curse if you have a fucking younger sibling. That is horrible, especially a bitch at that. And then it's like getting all the, if you have an even worse dysfunctional family, where then that person gets more of the treatment because all the experiments are done on you. And then you have like the youngest is then the one where it says, so this person we put through a lot of shit turns out to be very bitter and very not so subservient and very likely to refuse our orders. That's going to be risky. Okay, how about we do the exact opposite with this next thing here, give them all the shit, and then make sure that individual is not questioned as much. So we're going to have the hardworking guy be fucked because there's this younger dude who doesn't understand what the fuck's going on in the world because he's been like at mommy's boobs 100% of the time, getting all the resources. Like, that's exactly what that looks like, and it's fucking stupid. That's an absolute curse and blight on your potential, because if you already live in a family system that has the ability to destroy opportunities for you, like, that's hell. That's hell on earth. That is actual hell on earth, because there's no way for you to get out, right? Maybe you do get out, and then what are you going to do? Depends on the level of power that your family has, acquired. What if you... At worst, it's probably like some sort of billionaire dude that has the ability to just track your ass down. Because if you're already that vengeful, so as to fuck someone's opportunities, you're gonna do it. Like, sounds ridiculous, sounds dramatized. It's not. This is real. This is a real thing that happens. More often than you can imagine. And these are also the same types of people that produce various things and don't care about a lot of the consequences and cause massive amounts of damage. These are the reason. These are the people why you have, like, these are the people who give you reason to the fact you should have a union, because they go so far out of control that you need to rein them back in again. They're not just ruthless in a sense that they will absorb everything. No, they're ruthless because they don't care, not at any level. Oh, hey, your personal like a holiday or something like that? Nah, can't have that. Or like, I don't know, see the grievance of some kind. Don't care. We'll replace you like a part. It will replace people like broken parts. And with, say, your kids, they will look at you the same way, in that they will replace the stuff that's defiant by trying to oppress those, like, by trying to oppress the spirit of what you are and crushing it effectively, so that they can replace parts of your subconscious with something that they want. They try to basically clone themselves. That's the idea. That's a problem.
It's hard, though. I mean, when you're raising kids, like, you want them to be successful, and you still have your own ego, and then I have my own businesses, and I'm like, do I want them to work in that business? No, I want them to be their own people, but to what extent can they be their own people? How much money do you leave your kids? These are like really difficult topics, and it's actually, they're rarely discussed.
I will speak about this purely. Can I stop? I'll speak about this purely abstractly, but just on the general subject of rebellion from kids, I think parents have this tendency to read so much into what their kids do, and it's funny. I think it always kind of explodes right in their hands, because the degree to which you try to control anything, any system, including your kids outside of yourself, it's also going to be influenced by, do you actually understand how the system works? Like, are you personally like fully engaged and immersed with like the true level of complexity that the system is engaged with? And also, if assuming you actually do know what you're even working with, because many parents will just try to basically re-imprint what they understand, and that may not even apply necessarily to the world that those kids are living in. It's a totally different world out there now. But yeah, assuming you do understand everything properly, and you are able.
Yeah, but that's a small level. But that's small level. We're talking on a level of people that actually understand the world enough in order to extract massive amounts of resources out of it. Imagine that's like the level that we're talking. What the average parent does to like fuck themselves over or not fuck themselves over, that's a very basic combination of either I'm going to teach them something, but I'm not going to teach them enough, or I'm going to teach them just enough and they become somewhat successful and become the next like millionaire, billionaire, whatever, or you just basically give them no love or a piece of shit and you just basically kind of kick them out of the home, all that kind of stuff. There are multiple variations for like low-level types of failures that exist on the parental side on that level, but what we're specifically addressing here is the successful parent problem. Right? Because the way that you run a business is not the way you can run a kid. That's the point. That's where it ends. You cannot, and also you cannot think for the kid. You cannot fucking do that because you're a retard in comparison. You can't. Like, you cannot say that I'm going to think for the kid. You can explain to the kid what has exactly happened and what exactly you're doing, or say, for instance, hey, so this is how I came to understand certain principles about my life. And as a result of this, I'm going to put you through this particular thing over here so you can understand what this looks like yourself, because in the future, you're going to have to take on, like, say, a managerial position. So you have to understand what you're dealing with. You have to understand how people are dealing with you. So I'm going to take you, I'm going to put you in my business there, and everyone's going to fucking treat you as if you weren't the son or the daughter or whatever. You're going to work there just like everybody else for a certain number of years. You go to learn what that is like. I'll put you there at a certain position, and if you want to, like, move up the hierarchical structure, do whatever you want, you will go there, you will do this. You get fired, that's going to be a bit of a problem. But you're going to work there at this level and try to work your way for the top if you'd like. If you don't, it doesn't matter. We'll see how well you perform. We put him there, let him work there for like a year or two, pull him out, put him in a different position, and then keep that whole thing going. And at the end of the day, they're like, Shib, so here. Here's all the stuff that you worked on. Here's why all these things work together. Do you think you're able to understand how all this works? Do you think you know how all this works now? Are you sure? And if you are able to establish that, then you can just basically give them everything. You can even then stay around as a type of advisory in a sense as well. So you still work on the company itself. You're still in there, you're still making decisions, but you're taking an active, sort of like a partner position along with your kid, or even multiple kids. And this is successful. This has to work out. This is successful. I know it can work out. If you want a good example of it, look at the fucking Rothschilds. That shit works.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, my kids are pretty young. Like, you can't always intervene when they're fucking up. And
no, that's the point.
Let them fuck up. You have to, like, let them. Right, okay.
You put them in a place, tell them here are the consequences, what's going to happen. If you fuck up, you fuck up. There you go. You're on your own. You can still catch them when they fuck up to a certain extent, but you got to give them a little bit of the you're on your own part as well.
I thought about having my kids change their names. But what do the Rothschilds do? Is there anything, like, specific? Like, is there, like, a Rothschilds manual? Like, how to maintain being one of the richest families in the world over 5 centuries or however long it's been?
Well, it's probably a lot more details than whatever I can tell you, that's for sure. But realistically, yes, exactly, that is the problem. However, I can tell you, as a person who is capable of teaching various many people strange esoteric concepts that are extremely useful in the modern world, with literally no difficulty whatsoever, basically cloning systems, re-implementing them, much more than your Chinese is able to copy European technology, ironic, I tell you that the way you do it is by somehow taking the part that appeals to you about, say, running a business and instilling that motivation in someone else. But they also have to go through a period of hardship to a certain extent. Make them work at various levels so they know what's going on, because they cannot make a decision that's actually good if they haven't been there. A person who hasn't suffered to a certain extent cannot make a good decision that will help, say, somebody else who is also probably suffering in some way economically. Because guess what? When you're dealing with people, it depends on which industry you're in. If you're dealing with an industry that's like somewhat manufacturing based, you're going to be dealing with people who are, you're not really paying them very much because you can't at the same time for the work that they provide. But at the same time, you're dealing with these types of people who are also relatively poor at the same time as well. So they're going to have certain economic struggles. You're going to have to understand that. You're going to have to understand why this is the way it is, what they're kind of going through to a certain extent, why you can't be like shit to them, but you can be like shit to someone who doesn't perform. You know, or at least assess why that is. Oh, hey, do you have a bit of a problem right here? Why did you drop that? Why did you drop that part here that you were supposed to like put in there? What's wrong? You got a little. You feeling okay? And it turns out, oh, this motherfucker is on the third day of the fucking flu, and yet it's still showing up. Right, there you go. You gotta understand what's going on. And if you don't understand what's going on, you gotta put horrible managers in place. And at the same time, here's a problem. Here's the final problem. So imagine that you're trying to basically clone yourself on a principal level. You gotta give your kids some love. And if you have no love except the love for work, you can't give them that. And by that extent, you can't actually love anything. You love nothing. You are nothing. If you can't love something in some way, something that is in line with your genetic purpose, and what I mean with that is the ability to build something for the future. Not just the future you, but the future yous that come from you, your children. If you're not capable of loving what is here and now and understanding what that means in the future, then you are nothing. You are the worst human in ways that you don't even yet understand. You have failed at the key purpose of making sure that this thing that has been born of your very own flesh is supposed to be better than you. That is the thing. When I have kids, I'm going to tell them that you're supposed to be better than me. If you can't be better than me, it's understandable. But if they grow in ability so much so that they overshadow my own and make me look stupid, I will be happy. Because it means they're better than me. This is the big thing with these parents as well. They try to trot down and somehow regulate how capable they are. The kids. Like say, this is a really interesting idea, you know? But then because that idea is better than the one that I have, I'm just going to disregard it. Why? Just because you have a fucking ego problem. The hell's wrong with you? And that keeps fucking happening. Because again, the sentiment is, well, I built up the multi-million-dollar business, not you. Eh? Which is ironic because have you forgotten where you came from? You know? You may have something now, but you too came from nothing. So now you're going to dismiss the bright young minds. What if somebody dismissed yours when you tried to build up a business for the first time that now became a successful thing? What about that? You're not going to bother listening? You're not going to bother trying to understand, at least, what that is? There's good reasoning behind what this guy's saying to you? What this girl's saying to you, whatever? That's the problem. That's another massive problem. Limit the potential because you cannot have yourself appear weaker, when in reality, that is your whole fucking purpose. You are not supposed to be replaced. You're supposed to be supplanted, all of us. Every single one of us who can have children and is able to have children, those children are designed to supplant you, to exceed you, to be better than you. And it can be better at anything. You know, maybe I'm better at, I don't know, plowing the field with a horse, right? But do you think that the kid in the technology company needs to understand how to do that? No. They're going to be better at the technology aspect because they're filling up their brains with the stuff that makes the world run right from the start. You're giving them a head start, actually. So you have to learn all the shit about the taxes and the legal problems and the way that governments work, the way that you have to work with those governments if you're big enough. They have to learn that shit all on their own, but you can give that to your children. And hey, if they have enough reasoning, you explain to them, so they may be wondering why this is this stupid practice we're doing. Why are we being so nice to people so horrible? Well, guess what? We don't have a choice. You play this game well, you win. Somebody else doesn't play the game well, they lose. That's how it works. Is it right or wrong? Well, it's about as right as it gets when it means that you're successful and that you get to do the most amount of good possible with this. Because your pride will stop you from doing that. Wouldn't you want to expand and do more good? Well, this is the way. It's one of the best ways. And many of the rich parents that don't understand this can't do it.
It's not a question of them being better than you or you being better than them, because they are you. And that's something that you really only understand after you have them. They are you outside of you. It's truly amazing.
That's why I said, like, there's little versions of you in the future. You're building something for the future versions of you. It can be like the better version of you.
I'm tempted to put my kids on like a Mormon mission, because Mormons seem hold on, like maybe fuck off, but like there's a lot of like value there, right? Like Mormons generally seem pretty well adjusted. They all do pretty well in business. I mean, I don't know that many of them, and so sending your kids abroad, putting them on a quest, I mean, like, yeah, you're gonna go around Kazakhstan and try to convert as many Kazakhs as you can to Mormonism for 2 years, and you're gonna learn how to speak Kazakh. That's a worthy quest. Like when you're 18, 19 years old, building a useless quest, stuff like that. I didn't hear what you said.
That's kind of a worthless quest, though. Or you can say,
Well, it doesn't have to be specifically that, obviously, right? It can be something like that.
I don't know, build up a vast amount of knowledge and then create a show on the internet. That would be a cool one.
Hey, one second, I would leave and come back. My mic's being weird.
Because, like, if somebody would have given me that mission when I was a kid, that would have worked out very well for me. I mean, look at where we are now. Now I'm just doing it as a hobby. Like, if I would have maximized this a little bit, I would have grown a lot faster. It would have been a sensation.
Yeah, but there's something very special about going to a country that's not your own and being exposed to a different culture and then dealing with the culture shock. That's like, it turns.
Yeah, you can do that in the future. You can do that in the future. You can do it when you are a little bit older. Say you're lucky enough, like maybe in your 20s or something like that. That's a great time to do it. Because you have to have a frame of reference first for what's the baseline. You don't have that, and you're really not sure what you're looking at. I can put you, like, if I can have you be raised in the Sahara Desert, right? You'll see the dunes every day. And then you do some research and look into Europe, and you're like, God damn, that place looks exotic as hell. They got big buildings, whoa. You know? Meanwhile, somebody from there would say, man, you're living amongst the sand dunes. That's fucking exotic as hell. So it depends. Like, you're just always going to be somewhere, so you have to, like, set where exactly normal is supposed to be. And then everything from there on can be exotic. But that takes some time. And also, I think it's important, maybe to a certain extent, what you say makes sense to, like, expose the kid to some variants so they understand the ever-changing nature of the world. That's something. I sure as hell experienced that one. Not sure if that added up to be my benefit. Sure. Maybe a little bit. Although, to be honest, the majority of everything that has actually worked out to my benefit has been talking to people on the internet. Specifically in a way that no one can control. That should fucking grows my potential exponentially. Now let's control somebody has on the kind of stuff that I can do. My potential keeps increasing exponentially. That should fucking taught me a lot. Like, I would say that documentaries raised me, and the internet shaped me like that.
I've learned a tremendous amount by finding someone that I respected on X and then just kind of sucking their brain dry of as much information as I could, and then reaching the point of diminishing returns and then moving on to the next person. It sounds kind of weird, but you like find a temporary hero, learn as much as you can from them, and then move to the next person. And sometimes you can even interact with these people on X, which is amazing. Highly recommend it. Not sure if that's what you meant, but
am I one of these people?
yeah.
Figured it out. So here's the thing, though. You need to find a. So it's an interesting concept, but the point is, to just keep moving on to the next hero. Find yourself the understanding of how they got there. Like when you find something that's consistent, that consistently works or consistently evolves, rather, that shit's interesting to keep monitoring. Like for instance, it depends also on where you are. Like if you're in a place in life where you found someone who is capable of taking a lot of information and challenging you with your own assessments, that shit's very valuable. It's very difficult to find. A lot of people will rather agree with you than want to disagree and have a conversation around the disagreement. I like to maximize the amount of disagreement that I can have with someone in a way that you can learn what exactly their take is. Like if I talk about stuff with you that is, say, for instance, not contentious, then I'm basically just repeating back to you that which you already understand. And while it may feel nice to understand that you're not insane, it still is more valuable for you to be challenged on your own assessments, because guess what? What if somebody else that you actually have to convince of your own assessments challenges you as well? Well, now you have a bit of a warm-up. The amount of times that, say, running the show and arguing with people on the show has, like, saved my ass in real life, like that experience has saved my ass in real life, is honestly incalculable. Like, ever since I've done this, I've become an extremely good negotiator. Also, my confidence problems have gone way down. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you need to seek out disagreement because you can't both be right. And when you're wrong and you find someone who's intelligent who can correct you, it makes you wiser. So you have to.
You might be both right. You just have different versions of reality that you experience. So you like say, okay, the many people that say, oh, you're just wrong and don't elaborate, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, why would you do that? You have to elaborate as to why that person is wrong. Like, you believe that person is wrong, you gotta tell me why that is. Like, what is that? And, insulting them is not gonna do it. And if somebody starts beating your ass, with your arguments, then that just means you fucked up. You gotta take it, man. That's a good thing. It's no feelings. I see a lot of academic people are not capable of doing this. That's a big problem. I try to have discussions with academics, and they're incapable of actually having a conflict-based discussion. They just instantly feel offended to the core, which of course is correct. It's everybody experiences this to a certain extent. You're being questioned, and in a not so nice way. Of course, I'm gonna raise my defense and be like, excuse me, but okay, let's play this out. Let's play it out. See where this goes. I want to see what this happens. You gotta be naturally curious. You gotta be like doing a boss fight in a video game. It's like that, but in real life with argumentation of whatever you believe in.
So let me try to disagree with you here, right? Because in the interest of this conversation, so it may not be simply that they find it offensive, and as such, they want to discontinue the conversation as soon as possible because they're emotionally hurt. It could be that you're raising a question that causes them to lose confidence in their worldview. And these are the type of people who are attracted to academia need to have full confidence in their worldview, because if they don't have confidence in their worldview, they can't operate. Kind of like some people can't operate in uncertain situations. And so that may be the reason why they kind of just disappear.
Well, of course. Well, now you just added a piece of information to me. If not actually disagreeing with me, then.
Well, I try my best,
It's very difficult. I can't understand which positions you come from, and the positions that I have been very adjusted. Whenever I have an unadjusted position, it's very contentious, but whenever you have a well-adjusted position, it's really, it's very agreeable, and stuff just gets added to it, because you kind of see the structure of the world, and you get like a certain pattern, and you say, okay, this is what the foundation needs to be in order to continue with this particular topic, and you just keep building more buildings on top of that. There's no conflict because you already know the standard, right? So that's what I'm kind of getting off with these types of things, especially principle-based or emotional assessment-based, right?
Well, the other thing you need to do, and maybe you mentioned this again, a little bit distracting while you're speaking, by one of my kids who was screaming, and I kind of woke up, is you need to constantly be deleting all the things that you thought you understood in you that were wrong.
Exactly. Another problem is you have to keep like a cache memory thing going on. You keep some of the stuff that you're doubting, and you're just trying to see, okay, whatever comes next, we're gonna keep holding on to this, or we're gonna discard the other thing. But like, yeah, be prepared to throw stuff away. Like, for instance, a lot of the memories that I have from my childhood, which are not really useful to me, are forgettable. Faces, people, all that kind of stuff that doesn't matter anyhow. Like, I already know it doesn't have any relevance. Forget it all. I've cleared it all. Somebody asked me, okay, do you remember when you did X, Y, and Z as a child? I'm like, nope.
Do you guys, when you're doing something that's like completely unrelated, sometimes just get like a random memory from childhood or like a random image just pop in your mind? This happens to me all the time and I have no idea what it is.
I get that sometimes, yeah.
Depends, yeah. I usually do with like immediate struggles that I have. Or sometimes I think about philosophical stuff that I've tried to understand in the past. And then it just clicks in my head, and that's the thing I talk about the next day. That's why the show is so interesting, right? It wouldn't be worth much of anything if I didn't have something to farm.
I wake up every morning and I have at least like 2 or 3 X posts ready. just from sleeping. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. And when I wake up, it's like, okay, what's the latest, hottest political thing that I have to watch out for? What memes can I post today with where I can afford to be insensitive or can back it up? What memes can't I post today because it's just too bad? Like, say for instance, if there was I don't know, if a nuclear power plant melted down somewhere, I probably shouldn't be posting about how great nuclear power is. Or maybe I should, but like memes that kind of make fun of the disaster. Maybe not that, you know? Depends, you know, you kind of adjust the thing. It's like, okay, do I make a meme that roosts the concept of why people are afraid of it? Or do I write up a thing and say, here's why this went wrong, here's how bad it really is, here's the chance of that happening, and here's what the damage will be in the future based on the problem that's occurred. Like, that's what I decide in the morning. So I have a basic assessment of reality. I also do a decent amount of work, like right as I wake up. You know, check my messages, see if anyone has sent me anything important. I always go to X first. I go to my DMs on X first, actually. Always the DMs. Because you never know if there's going to be something that's really good there. You know, just a few messages.
I'm just addicted.
I mean, I am addicted. I'm not gonna deny that. It's a good one, though. Everybody has an addiction. It's gotta have a good one.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I'm also kind of addicted to video games, and it's like, it's very annoyingly destructive sometimes because my creative flow gets inhibited a little bit whenever I play a lot of games. Because it just basically helps you escape from reality. So I have a little bit of that so I can have some fun, get that dopamine release, you know, of blowing up some shit and defeating enemies. It's a very nice thing. I enjoy that very much.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta mix it up somehow.
You should not play Path of Exile. Trust me, you get sucked into it, never come out.
Yeah, I'm worried about that. Alright, boys. I gotta go. Fuck my wife. Who's really pissed off that I woke up the kids with this Twitter Spaces, X Spaces. Alright, have a good night, everyone.
Good night, beautifuls. He's for real, by the way. He's not lying.
No, I'm gay. Alright, good night.
Oh my god, that's a good one to end it on. That's for sure. Wait, I was going as well.
Oh yeah, I just noticed that.
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm just chilling.
Same. I mean, this is a great show. I love it. These are good stuff. My throat pain is like really taken over there a little bit, which is kind of an issue, but it's kind of fine. It's fine. Not sure what tomorrow's gonna look like though.
Yeah.
Hey, what happened here?
Just doing a couple trades, trying to get the run suited for us later.
was a great thought about anomalies. Is that they've always been there. It's just that you are now seeing them because you want to see them. The anomaly is not created or amplified. It has always been there, just your awareness of it has. And this does not apply to made-up social issues. This applies to the physicality of our universe. I'm not going to tell you what this means, but you'll figure it out.
Interesting.
It's a little cryptic thing. Kind of means something. I sometimes have the temptation to send some really cryptic shit out there, but I just don't want to confuse people too much sometimes, although I really probably should. A lot of mimetic thoughts, that's for sure.
We like the puzzles, so yeah, feel free to.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, what do you all here think of this show? It's like some feedback would be great.
Yeah, this was fun. Yeah, we just had a nice little philosophical discussion at the beginning, a little cooking, and then we went from there. It was a good show.
Nice. I was various things around here. It's relaxing to some sounds. That's also something, you know. I highly recommend people listen to classical music right now. That's really good. The modern pop music is disgusting. I don't know why. I know a lot of people enjoy that shit, and I understand it. Really, I do. I just think it's superficial and literally mind-numbing.
Oh yeah. I grew up listening to classical, actually, taking piano lessons and stuff like that. So I think it was good for my early development of math skills and stuff like that. I think it helped with that.
I still remember when I first listened to classical music. It's basically all I wanted to listen to. Because it was really good. It was really stimulating. It didn't have any strange words I didn't understand, any meanings that I had to grasp. It was good for your productive way of working. And I always wanted to watch it. And I was actually one of the only kids that would like to prioritize stuff that actually benefits you over stuff that's just, I guess, just plainly fun. Although sometimes I do like fun. But realistically, I mean, like, hey, do you want to watch this movie about this dog that talks? Or would you rather want to watch David Attenborough? No, it's true, David Attenborough. It's nice. It's gained me more. I mean, look, seeing how animals live and how we interact with those animals and how they interact with nature, it's kind of good. It's a good awareness for your understanding of how the planet works. It's a great thing. You want to know how this desert works. You want to know how the snakes live around there. You want to look at the little mice that fly. You have the little jumping mice. They can jump so fucking high. They got like these really long legs. They live in the desert, have this longish tail.
Jumping mice. I don't think I've seen those ones.
Yeah, they have that. They have that as a defense mechanism, so that vicious snake or something comes after them, they just jump away out of danger.
For that shit, aggravated assault charge,
scorpions,
kidnapping, because when you shut the door on him, that's kidnapping.
Episode 6.
Very useful thing to know in the desert because you walk around there and it's nice and you're shining the torch around and the scorpions, they come out at night. They stay under the rocks during the day when they come out at night. Well, hey, what if you want to take on the rock or something? Well, you move the rock away from yourself. Because if you open it towards yourself, like if you were to poke, whatever's under that rock, it's going to come running right at you.
Wow, what an experience. The burger.
Well, hey, what about that strange looking patch on the tree that looks like a tree, but it's just a little bit out of place? Yeah, that's probably an animal hiding under that. You don't want to poke that. Actually, maybe do you want to poke that and see what happens? Just like look at it. Oh, yeah, that's right. We found one of those spiders that snatch things up and eat them. You know, there's like a type of spider that lives on like the tree. In the rainforest, has this thatching that's over it. It looks just like the tree bark. Put a little something next to it, comes out, grabs it, fucking takes it, and gone again. Looks really weird.
Oh, damn.
Oh, hey, you see this really interesting spider that is this type of species, but you recognize this feature that's an anomalous butt, as in it's a huge fucking ass size spider. It's like it's got a huge ass. That's strange. Well, if you were to hit that, then many spiders are gonna come out, because guess what? That's where the spiders live inside of the little baby spiders. It's not even its ass, it's just a cocoon. So you'll know that kind of shit. Meanwhile, fucking like Americans in a household, they like take care of some insect somewhere, they see that type of spider, they hit it with a broom, and there's like tiny mini spiders everywhere coming out of that little home invasion. They get freaked out, be like, oh my god, how is this possible? I'm like, I know you don't know, but that's kind of funny. Sorry, don't poison this fucking things. Or the fact that the young snake's venom is worse than the ones of the old snakes, because the young one doesn't know how much venom to release, so it just releases a shit ton.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Huh?
Yeah, juvenile snakes. Yeah, that's a thing. Reckless little motherfuckers too. You see, snakes, they don't actually want to waste resources on you. They'll be sparing with their venom, just regulated just right. Hell, sometimes all you use it at all. Young snake doesn't give a shit. It doesn't know yet. Pumps its victim full of venom instantly kills them. Wastes a lot of resources for no reason. What about your chameleons? Those things that become super colorful when they want to mate. They look like little dinosaurs. That's pretty cool. What about this weird fucking practice that salmon do? I don't understand why they do it, but they do it. Hey, we're gonna swim up the river and fuck upstream. I don't get that. I really don't. But they do it. Happens every year. Has to happen, doesn't it? Right, that's right. The bears, they gotta eat salmon. That's pretty cool. There's hordes of wildebeest, hyenas that are male can turn themselves female. All that kind of weird shit. It's all in nature. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. See, as a child, inundating yourself with that is pretty interesting. It doesn't really give you much of an understanding for the social world of humans, but it does give you an understanding of the things that control us all to a certain extent. All these animals, they have some aspect that we also have within us. Purely the drive to survive is one of those, or the recklessness of the snake. You know, hey, I'm in this fight with another human. We're both young, and I punched him fucking a little too hard. Oh boy. Probably should have learned restraint. Hey, I got the example of the snake. The chameleon that tries to put on fancy colors when it wants to pursue a mate, or the bird that ruffles its feathers a certain way, or the peacock. You know? Humans do that too. When was the last time that you wanted to attract a potential mate, you know, human, female, and you tried showing off? That's the first thing you do. You try to show off your capabilities. The birds do the same. And there's fish, you know, the fish that make these beautiful mandalas underwater.
Yep.
That shit's fucking neat. And to create this perfectly mathematically accurate mandala-looking thing on the ocean floor, just because it wants to get laid. It's crazy. Gotta do math to get laid. Incredible. That fish has got teeth some people's on shit, not gonna lie. Goddamn. True. And then you have humans, right? You have dysfunctional, and you have the thing that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because in nature, you'd die if you did this. The dysfunctional human that chooses individuals based on how reckless they are, and not just how capable they are. I mean, that's where the Chad meme came from, though. The reckless motherfucker. Fucks everyone. Right? Why? Because social dysfunction. The adolescent brain is so fucking stupid that it thinks that this is the ideal thing. Because it's the confidence factor. Whereas the smartest person probably has the most utility, doesn't have confidence in the fact that they can be ignorant of certain things in the world. The real smart person, what they do, is they have a bunch of paths that they can pursue for themselves. They can pursue a path of always keeping themselves to a degree where they don't have to create a certain appearance and still be very influential, be really who they are. And then there are the ones who say, well, I'm not sure this is 100% certain, but I'm just going to state that it is. and the wait for the corrections to pile up later. That level of confidence, a person who doubts himself constantly, even though there's not really that much of a reason to do so, that is extremely unattractive for no reason. And now most females recognize this as a big turnoff. That's fucking annoying, right? Because then you're gonna be with the incompetent, or worse off, you had like your mind impacted by a dysfunctional feminist, and it's like, oh wow, you know, I have to have a certain standard. I'm this mid bitch that wants like the fucking 100K a year, bring it in person. Oh, fuck yourself. You're not worth it. And then gets offended when you ask them what they bring on the table. See, that's where the nature comes into play again, right? Because a lot of women today, for instance, they don't have that anymore. They don't even have the thing that is intrinsic to nature where it's like, the male wants to reproduce, wants to continue the legacy. Most women can't do that, they won't. They've either fucked themselves up so bad that there's no way they can mentally support this, or they just have this weird ideology and be like, this is oppression. I'm like, my need to provide resources to you so that you can have my child is my biological purpose. Without it, I'm nothing. It's a discarding of purpose. That's the social dysfunctional aspect of humanity. Actually, as a matter of fact, this will be very apparent to you if you do understand nature. It's a massive thing. That's why people such as Andrew Tate exist, because they say the stuff that I say, except they're more offensive about it, and they actually have a lot of experience behind it. And sometimes they'll say things for the sake of getting attention, which is probably the wrong thing to do, but ironically enough, if you want to create a certain type of message, you have to have some sort of impact. And saying offensive shit is an incredible way to get reach. 100%. Because everybody's willing to disagree with you and somehow try to challenge you. You know, look at your replies. The most offensive thing you've ever sent, but the thing that could offend a shit ton of people. Look at that shit. Insane amounts of engagement. Look, fuck, I went after the weird chick that has a PhD in offensive smells. Fictitious offensive smells, my bad. Sorry, it makes it worse. And I just put one reply and one post out about that. And maybe me more too. They fucking had to quote post my reply to try to pull me out. You know what I did? I Giga chatted it. I sat there and did fuck all about it. I don't care. I made my point. My point is clear. And if it triggers you enough to interact with me to the point of putting me on your timeline, giving me impressions, well, give me the billion. I'll take it. I'll take it if you ads. It's fine. It's a good thing. It's an awesome thing. That's the most Andrew Tate thing that I can do. There's like an irony though with what Tate is doing, where he says we gotta break the matrix. Like, we're in the matrix. You're a different version of it. You're in it. You can't break it. If you break it, you have to fucking, you know, commit an act of self-destruction, which we're not gonna talk about what that means. But is what it is. Then again, you know, what he says sometimes on a social level is also very true, because something like that, you have to be able to social engineer enough in order to be successful. Now, it's maybe a terrible example, but you can't necessarily control a shit ton of prostitutes unless you know what the person looks like. There's just no way. And it's a terrible argument to make in favor of a person's understanding of social structures. It's like, okay, well, why are you so good at understanding how social structures work? Well, I have like 100 prostitutes. Or had 100 prostitutes. Yeah. We had to make them do certain things and stuff like that. And that had to be consistent. We made a multi-million-dollar empire off this. Hundreds of millions. That's not bad. Terrible example. But you can't make it work unless you have that understanding. That's all I'm saying. It's like, and then, you know, you look at the meritable aspect of what that is, right? There's merit in what I've just said. There's merit in what he said in this regard. But then there are people who ignore it because it's abnormal. They just want to have the easy thing. They just want to have the escape more than the actual facing of the issue. Never get anything done. There's a certain momentum to getting things done, by the way. The more you get done, the more strange things you take on, the faster you progress. somehow. Because you're used to the change, and your only constant is change. Because even often used by the leftists to say the only constant is change. I'm like, motherfucker, you ain't changed nothing at all over the last couple of years. You're sitting in place faster, destroying everything wherever you stand. What are you doing? I know what I'm doing. I'm nowhere and everywhere at the same time. And this thing above the layer of where all the psyops are, and the anomaly that floats above the surface, because that's where I want to be at. I will touch the surface, be inside the surface, be inside of every single surface that there is if I need to be. I'm going to be macro hard inside you. Because Microsoft. But we're going to need Intel. We're going to buy Intel. And we're going to make that macro hard. So you can put those chips inside of your computers. So it's Intel inside, while macro hard inside here.
Exactly.
We're also probably, since we're a hardware manufacturer, we're also going to have to create a computer that's called a U. The U computer. So that I can say, we make macro hard technology that's like macro hard inside you.
Perfect. The U computer.
The U computer.
The iPhone, it's the U, yeah.
Got the 4269 GPU. Well, then at some point we're gonna have the 69420.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the 50 series, but better. And that's gonna confuse everyone because if they're gonna tell us, well, what's the one that's actually better? It's like I know it's the higher number one. All the iterations below that, whatever happened to 68 420? Where's that? I get confused as shit. You have to explain to him. This is bad marketing for you. Bad social stuff, But let's go back to the thing with the classical music. I listen to it, knowing that it makes me more productive. That's anomalous.
I can see that.
So they'll be like, Adrian, why are you doing this? Why are you listening to this music? I listen to normal music.
Not as distracting as regular music because it has a flow to it, like patterns to it.
I've always wanted to change things faster and keep changing. Into the stale air in which I was forced to reside. Caused chaos just for things to change. Went to work like age 13. Never looked back to school since. Never even been in school.
The mind that is more accelerated gets bothered by mundanity because there's no new information to extract from, so it tends to create chaos in an attempt to create new data to draw from, because that is the quickest path to new forms of learning.
Exactly. And tearing apart a living room is definitely one way to do that. You want change? Okay, tear apart the living room. I did that once. I didn't know I could fucking do that shit. I was a little fucking kid, destroyed a whole place in like 30 seconds flat. Fuck, man. I got some crackhead energy, I'll tell you that much.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Still do.
Yeah, 100%. Well done things as kids. Elliot is one of those few people, talked to him, is like, that guy doesn't have a terrible childhood at all. Admin.
Yeah, he's got everything laid out. Yeah, it looks bright future for him. He's a smart dude.
I'm looking at his father who goes and plays video games with him. He's full himself D's and nuts. Like, god damn, Paul.
Yeah, he's awesome.
This bro goes hard, man. We need that from our fathers, man. Fuck.
Yeah.
One of them to be there for something. And you have other bonding exercises, perhaps, There's always going to be a degree removed. And you're going to have to seek that out. And it's like, it's a thing. And worst of all, maybe you have a sibling and they have to contend with that attention because maybe that sibling is the younger one and they're a massive bitch because they're entitled as fuck. He's always got everything in life. You're the one who's working hard. It's a massive fucking thing.
Yeah.
So all people. Worst of all, you're the sibling you don't even know. That's actually worse. What if you're the younger sibling that's entitled as fuck? When you see your older sibling is like, why are they so annoyed by you? You ever consider that? Consider maybe helping this motherfucker?
Pretty sure Ellie's the oldest of his siblings too, yeah.
They don't seem to be giving him too much shit because he's getting the good treatment, right? He's got his own fucking internet.
Yeah.
I mean, stay up until 2 a.m. Nobody gives a fuck. As long as he gets his studies done, right?
Exactly, yeah. He's doing finals right now.
Fucking impressive, A little naive, of course.
But most people are at that age.
Yeah, this is fine. It's fine. It's innocent. It's incredible. You know? The world is gonna look fucked at some point, but you gotta enjoy it first, actually, because you gotta have something nice to pull back on. But my world was always fucked, actually. To a large extent, my world was always fucked. My freedom is the ability to exist in a system that can't get rid of me. And to chill with people on the internet with whom I can experience new things that are completely strange.
It's awesome, man.
How many people can say, hey, I know this one friend in fucking Boston that can give me a ride in the Cybertruck?
Yeah, that is amazing, man. You guys did donuts, didn't you?
Yes, a fucking parking lot now.
Nice.
You fucking put it on me. It was like, dude, you want to do it? I'm like, sure. And it was random. I didn't even intend to meet him there. I just randomly happened to drop the fact that I was there. I didn't even intend to really do it. Everyone was like, oh wait, you're actually there? I'm like, yeah. Want to come ride my Cybertruck? I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the thing. That's the stuff I search for.
Here's the thing that particularly interested me.
Strange experience. Oh, hey, look at that. Somebody's brought you a little uranium sample. Yeah.
Can I ask you a weird question?
That was a great.
There you go, friend.
Do you ever get tired of the, in a sense, decadence of intellectualism itself?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just mentioned that I roasted someone for this exact thing. Of course I did. It's a gatekeepy thing. And only the actually intelligent are willing to have a conversation with you. That's actually good. Like, you know this one guy who I think is very, very, very scientifically inclined. Guy we know as Metaphor. I talked to this guy for ages. This guy makes sense, man. He could say shit about scientific stuff and disagree, agree. And it's the greatest conversation that I've ever had with someone who's like this. It's a very... I've had a lot of great conversations with many different people, and each and every single one of them are great in their own ways and the best in their own ways, right? But like for the scientific conversation, this guy had it together.
100%.
That's what, like, for those of you who's like academics, and you've seen Metaphor in my spaces, this is who you want to be. That's the fucking person you want to be. You're gonna be like me. You're gonna be an asshole. You're gonna treat people terribly. You're a businessman like me. Then you're gonna be great, you know? You're gonna do good things for people and invest in their potential. But you're also gonna be an asshole to some and be consequential with the fact that you're an asshole. That's how it is. If you want to be an academic, you gotta be more scientific so that I can give you the money. That's the idea. And someone like that is someone who I put up. Because that shit's so beautiful. That's a guy who could take the thing that says it's smart and make it look stupid by simply picking it apart in a so neutral and benign way. Wow. It's an incredible thing. And all the rest of them all fucking sick. You get offended.
In a way, it shows you the absurdity of even trying to approach certain subjects, because there's going to be people like that who have so much expertise that it's like, wow, why am I wasting my time? This dude has a level of understanding that,
No, you can help them. Like, don't give up just because somebody knows more than you. You know, you can learn from them and accomplish something else, you know? Somebody needs to be an intern somewhere somehow, and maybe one day you'll supersede the intern status and become something more, you know? It's a thing. Like being a lab tech or being the engineer's assistant. You're like the little young kid he takes with you. Makes you clean up all the walls and shit by teaching you how to do it.
I get annoyed when I can't do anything original, you know? Like that constricts my ability to feel like I actually want to contribute to something. If I can't do something original, then I just kind of give up in a way.
You never will do anything original, except for the fact that everything you do is original. That breath you've taken has not been taken by anyone else except you before. Your carbon atoms are your carbon atoms. Maybe those carbon atoms are part of the trees that you ate, or the stuff that's in something that's been ejected into you, or like the water that's coursing your system might have been inside of a dinosaur's balls. Like all of this is potential. All of this is possible. Maybe that's what you're breathing right now. the water, the moisture that's been inside of a dinosaur. So everything's been everywhere. And you can do something original in that you have a new experience you've never had before. If you can react to it differently. Same for instance. A very mediocre thing to do when you win the lottery is to buy a bunch of houses and cars, and then the financial reality of maintenance takes out the rest of one-shots your financial potential in one go. Takes less than 6 months. You're bankrupt. Instead, hold on to it first. Understand your situation. What have you just done? How much money is it? Where do I put it? That's true. Do I upgrade my current experience, get myself a place closer to work? Do I get myself a new job entirely? Do I start a business? Do I have a business that I've always wanted to start? And if I could start that business, can I actually scale it enough for it to basically exceed the revenue my job brings in? Could I start a hobby?
It's also true that
it's not crazy on next up.
It's also true that
You never know.
Great stuff. Good points.
Having wealth itself, just the act of being wealthy and having to not worry about these things, it kind of I think it changes the nature of the way you engage with the world and also your perspective as well. And people who would just win the lottery, I don't think they would have this this level of, I mean, I want to say appreciation because it's not even the question here, but it's more like I guess
you don't have a frame of reference for how much they have. That's the problem. They don't have a frame of reference. That's the main issue. But what I'm saying is you can do something that's unique or you can do something that's mediocre. The unique thing is to do something that's actually constructive with that money. You've just been blessed by something that is beyond your understanding. You beat the mathematical odds in ways that you've never thought are possible. And now you have this ability. What do you do with it? What do others in your position do with it? And I'm not talking about going to the LinkedIn influencer, these fucking grifters who live post by post, manipulating people into believing they know what's going on. No. I'm talking about the Peter Thiels of the world, the Elon Musks of the world. Those people understand what it is that they have, like, how exactly did it come to play? Understanding someone like the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, except for trying not to liquidate out your friends by diluting their shares, you know? Like they did to that one guy. It was like there was one of the co-founders, and they tried to dilute his shares out. And like listed it down. How many shares did you do? How much were your shares diluted? How much were your shares diluted? How much were your shares diluted? No, and none of them were diluted at all. That his shares were like diluted to like point something of a percent. Fuck. Something like that. Like, what drives people to do this kind of stuff? What drives people to start something that people want to have a percentage in? So bad that they want more of that percentage. And look at somebody else who has more and ask yourself, why do they have more? How did they get there? Don't be jealous of it. Examine it. Understand it. Become it. Simple. That's why a lot of these weird fucking communists, wannabes, fucking unproductive elements of society, they look at the one who has more and they say, I want to have that more, but I can't work for it, so I take it from you. They're like thieves of the worst kind. They will socially engineer everyone else around them, destroy an entire economy, just so they can steal. They will never have anything.
Well, in a sense, I think we should also be generally sympathetic to the fact that, most people will never have the economic situation that maybe they rightfully even deserve. I mean, working class people who do this contribution, the 40 hours a week, whatever they do, I feel like it is fundamentally unjust that, someone like that even has to worry about their bills, assuming they are not spending exorbitant amounts of money. But, I mean...
Oh yeah, 100%. The economy would be better.
What?
It's no argument against that whatsoever. It's also the reason why you shouldn't brag. I don't brag about achievements. I sometimes relate an achievement so as to basically explain what the value is, like customer experience. So for instance, about the show, I mentioned certain names, but there's some names I didn't mention because I feel like it's too much of a brag. And I'm pretty sure many of you have seen exactly who I mean. So you don't do that because it's all fair. You don't brag to people. See Elon, for instance, bragging to people. He's like literally the richest man. Does he go around saying it to everyone? He kind of nods his head and agrees. He's like, yeah. Laughs about it a little bit. Casually does the number one thing in Diablo. Just cause. Doesn't brag about it. It's not gonna hear about it. Gonna hear about him saying, oh yeah, I'm the owner of XAI. Everybody knows you're the owner of XAI. He's like trying to explain progress. What's been done. To certain people that are like, just listen, reveal certain details where it's going. That's interesting. A man who has more than most people. Hell, literally, the richest on paper as far as we can tell by a Forbes list. That guy doesn't brag. I've never once seen him brag. Isn't that incredible? That's a lesson.
Yeah.
You make it, don't brag. Don't buy a car because it looks good and it's going to get you a ton of bitches. Maybe you want to get a ton of bitches. That's for you, man. It's all on you. Like, I'm going to buy a Cybertruck because it's bulletproof. Not that anyone's going to shoot at me. I just think that's cool. Has a really dope sound system and accelerates super quick. It's environmentally friendly. Has more power than most trucks. It does to an extent look badass and it's super fucking futuristic on the interior. I like feeling like as though I live in the future. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
I'm tired of ice cars breaking in unpredictable ways. It pisses me off. Ugh. Can't imagine. Must have pissed me off.
Yeah. That's why you mentioned the bulletproof thing. That's one of the reasons that I think it's a badass truck.
I mean, that's a badass feature, right? It's that. Super hard fucking steel.
Yeah.
These cool internal features. Charges off your own power. Which saves you money long term.
Here's the irony, though. Here's the irony of what you're saying is that most people, and by the way, these are oftentimes the people who do not get rich. The reason they desire to become rich in the first place is often for the brag itself. You know, they want to have the status and they want to have all the flair and the glam that is the very drive.
Exactly, that's the problem. There's no utility.
Well, you see all those videos of cars starting on fire? I'm going to explain why cars start on fire and what you can do about it. Now, with conventional gasoline vehicles, fires are generally started because of fuel
for the sake of attaining more ability to manage more resources and to keep expanding. I'm just growing for that sake. And sustaining that spend isn't the point. That's my goal. I want more for the sake of ability. I like ability. That's why I like drop a lot of effort on some video games and sometimes do trade maxing. Because I'm looking at my time and what it's worth. And look at the amount of shit that I can do with the time that I have, and then take stuff from there and invest it into the stuff where I now save that time from and still get the good shit. And in the process, support an in-game economy. That is interesting to me. And I have more ability. That's pretty cool. I see it all about time. Sorry. Okay.
I actually learned a lot about people, maybe essentially more than anywhere else, just from kind of playing with like random people in World of Warcraft. Like,
Dude.
What?
Learn a lot of patience from it. If you're like a dungeon leader or something, or you're the tech, yeah, you have to be extremely patient with people. You have to replace people too if they drop out or something like that. So it helps you with team building.
Yeah, it does. But I basically learned how little people actually give a shit. Because, you know,
sure.
Yeah. When I would match up with just random people, you know, I would still try to, you know, make it work my best. Because, you know, why not? Like, I'm there. I want to have a good experience. You know, I'm not, like, zoning out. Exactly. I'm not, like, you know, watching a TikTok at the same time or something. But I would just consistently deal with people who, you know, I mean, the obvious thing is just like lazy people. But you would also get people who would just like almost like self-sabotage and just act like assholes because they have nothing better to do. And it's like, it's just seared in my mind.
People will throw on purpose to try to wipe the raid or something like that. Like a hunter will just like pull the boss and just kill everybody. You know, like that's just how it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
so
I'm like the exact opposite. It's like
the
exact
opposite.
opposite. I get it.
Care about themselves, and they like if you try to explain like, oh, this person did this for this reason, or you know, it's very very hard for people to not be thinking about like just themselves, and like if they get into a fight over some like loot drop that will like ruin the whole party, people will leave for the stupidest reasons. And I was just constantly seeing everything fall apart, and I was like, God, this is amazing in a way.
Yeah. I'm like the exact opposite. I'm like, I'm gonna do as much damage as possible so nobody gets to kill anything. You can just sit back and I can flex. That's fun. Just ability. Like, okay, here you go. Everything's dead. Here, take your reward. Let's do the next thing. Maybe it's like a super good map key, and they have a map key, but you already used yours. And they're like, you're gonna use your map key. I'm gonna do the same shit I just pulled here. You want to see it again? Yeah, sure. Cool. Now you do another map key. And you just keep going. That's kind of where I'm at. So I like to have max level utility. Come in and be the type of thing that carries. I understand getting carried and how exactly that works. And that's how you usually get to certain parts of the top, so that eventually you can kind of give that back and also carry for other people. Because why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
People who do destruction for the sake of destruction doesn't actually make much sense to me. I just never got it. I never got the idea of just sabotaging, except for like maybe if it's principle violation. Like, you know, okay, there was one example where I did this, and that was when I encountered DPS runners who were pieces of shit in Star Trek Online. So there's specific styles of combat. There is combat in space, and there's combat on the ground. Combat in space, of course, spaceships fighting with each other. Combat on the ground is you going against either PvP or NPCs, right? So it's very shooter-based, if you'd like it to be, but more RPG than shooter. Now, I go full fucking shooter, of course, because it's fun, and if you go shooter, you can do a lot of shit. I was not the guy with DPS max. I would, however, DPS max on bosses. I would float around and just somehow teleport to whatever location I'd like to be at. Like, I did this thing where I discovered a way to fly, in a way. So you can have, like, a specific leap tied to a specific skill with your knives, and you can leap up to a certain area, and you can teleport behind enemies on the ledge you could never reach, and then shoot down from there. And all this kind of stuff, you know, I would do that. DPS runners, no. They kill everything. You can't kill anything. And then they roast you for the fact that you have low DPS on. And they do it in like the first couple of rounds. So there's like this one map that has multiple barriers, right? There's barriers of rock that you need to blow up in order to move past them. It's a big cave. Cave-like thing with a little light coming in. It's a big fucking cave, a lot of flat area. And so you have to blow apart certain walls so you get past those walls. And however, these are just rocks that are kind of piled up real high. And if you can, in fact, leap over those bounds, it's possible. Here's why that's important. If you do it for the first couple walls, it's fine. It's not so bad. If you do it for the last wall, you break the game. The game doesn't know what to do. It doesn't progress. You see, the entire team has to, like, the game does not progress until